NSJT. No secrets, just truth. Yes, I returned from the long walk in the darkness. I returned into the light to say that this is now the day that I have called upon to be the day to renew the strength of our nation, of our people. This is the hour, the finest hour, the hour that the warriors of God put on their armor. The hour that we begin to hear the cries of the world and begin to respond. No longer will we sit silent in the darkness and allow tragedies to happen anymore. No longer will we sit and wait in turn for our turn to be free. No longer will we be in the chains of doubt and criticism. No longer will we be afraid to stand and speak. Our voices are the choir of heaven. When we speak together in unison, we can accomplish anything and everything. We can turn back the tide of time. We can create destiny out of our own palms and sheer tears and toil. For he said that we shall toil upon the earth. And that is what we have done since the beginning of Adam and Eve, Cain and Abel. We have been working the land and dying for the land. But now it is time for the mother of us all, the earth, to give us the strength to bear witness to the strength of nature, so that we can hear the inner nature of God speak to us. For he has created all things before us. For all things speak to us because of him. Today is the day that we no longer pretend that we are something that we are not. Today is the day that we end the bullying. Today is the day that we end the struggle, the pain, the shame, the temptation. Today is the day that we renounce all evil. Today is the day that we proclaim that we are the children of destiny. That we have something in us that is more powerful than anything that has ever been seen by any other generation. We have the power to heal. We have the power to move mountains. We have the power to forge ahead a destiny that is worth looking forward to. For we have been in the darkness for so long. We have been underneath the foot of the enemy for so long that we have forgotten who we belong to. But today is that day that we remember that we belong to something greater, that we belong to something more powerful than man himself. We belong to the creator of man. What man is greater than the hands that shaped him? What man is greater than the creator that created him? What man is able to overthrow God? There is no such man. But there is men and women and children that will follow into the choir of angels and shall be called the children of God, shall be called the children and the saints of God. Let us not be afraid to speak. Let us not be afraid to walk. Let us not be afraid to run. Let us be brave in this day and this hour and this moment to change. Change what we do not no longer want to see in a society like this. Now there is so much turmoil going on in so many different parts of the world right now that we are in mourning because there are lives that are being lost senselessly. While we sit here in a country of so much wealth, we complain. While there are those who are starving, dying from malaria, dying from diseases that are easily to be cured. War-torn countries. We have a lot going on in the world.
It's time for us to move beyond just our life and begin to move into other lives and begin to lay down the foundation of what God wants us to do. God wants us to lead. God wants us to illuminate the wilderness, the darkness. What I call the wilderness is the world. For there is lawlessness now in the world. Every time you turn on the news, you hear stories of victims of senseless crimes, victims of senseless abuse, victims of themselves. Now is the time for us to gather our strength and demand from each and every man, woman, child that we meet, that they meet the standard of God, that they meet the standard of what is righteous, what is right, what the saints have proclaimed us to be. Something new, something different done underneath the sun. Ecclesiastes says there is nothing new that is done underneath the sun that hasn't been done before, but what we're about to do is completely different. What we're about to do is completely different than any other generation. We shall change what has not been changed for eons. We shall do what generations before us have yet to do. We shall speak where generations before have not spoken. It has been some time before we have been literally together in arms in battle. But this war is not a simple war. It's a complicated war. The enemy knows you inside and out. He was there when God created man. He knows what to tempt us with. He knows what to say in our ears to make us feel as if we have to defend ourselves. But God says, I defend you as long as you defend what belongs to me, the precious souls of the earth, the children who are lost, the motherless, the fatherless, the voiceless, the blind, the deaf. It is now time for us to leave the ignorance in the past. It is now time for us to find our voice and speak against what is going on in our country, what is going on in countries across the world. There is no reason for anyone to be starving. There is no reason for war-torn countries. We're supposed to have the strongest faith. We're supposed to be Christians. Christians are supposed to be able to rise and defeat the enemy without breaking a sweat. We are the children of destiny. And the sooner that you realize that you are a part of destiny, that you are part of a bigger plan, a greater design, then you will know that it's time for us to join together as one flock and follow the leader, which is God. No man is God, but man can be an instrument for God to use to do his will. By our hands, he has already moved upon so many different lives. You may not realize it, but sometimes when you're walking down the street and you crack that smile, that person, all of a sudden, their day changes. When you say good morning, all of a sudden their day changes because they feel like somebody has just recognized them. Somebody has just honored them. Somebody has just blessed them. When you give to the poor, you have blessed them. Now the notion that if you just become saved that you're going to heaven is a fairy tale. It's a fairy tale told by many preachers and pastors because they know not what to say to those who shall not enter the gates of heaven. For none of us know whether we will be in that line to go to heaven. But we know that if we do what God asks us to do, there is a strong chance that we will be in the presence of God, wearing the white robe, wearing the crowns and jewels, living in the mansions of heaven. But until that moment, we have to assume that everything that we do has consequences. that everything that we do and say has a purpose, has a meaning to it. For God says he will take some hearts of the earth and turn them cold, like he did with Pharaoh when Moses went up against him. God hardened Pharaoh's heart to show him the strength and the power of God's will. I will still break through. Everyone in the Bible who is of significance, the prophets of old, are all outcasts. There is no reason for you to feel that you do not belong, because you belong. You belong here. Let no man tell you that you do not belong upon this earth, because they have not given you life. God gave you life. God created you in the womb and molded out the arms and the legs and the head. He put inside you a spirit that will not be defeated, a spirit that is immortal, something that belongs to him, something that we have borrowed to be able to breathe, to be able to speak, to be able to eat, to be able to walk. We must be thankful for the things that God has given us. Some of us have been blessed beyond measure, and some of us is waiting on the blessings. But see, what the thing is that God works through man. He works through man to work his miracles. He works through man to work his blessings. And if we fell short to show up on time, there is somebody going without. Now, back to the question of when I get saved, am I going to heaven? Well, I say, do you think that if you get saved that you will go to heaven before a child in need? Before a child who is starving? Before a child who is dying of AIDS and malaria? Those who, of no fault of their own, have been succumbed to the evil and darkness and death and sorrow and pain and torture of life. It is our job to show them the gleaming light of hope. It is our job to point to the dawn and say, this is a new day. It is our job to stand and protect those who wish to be on the side of God, who wish for peace, who wish for love, who wish to be dreamers, who wish to be lovers, who wish to be builders of this new destiny that we are forging to create. I'm telling you, I have heard so many say that I do what I do so that I'll be able to go to heaven. But I tell you that if you sit and say, for an example, I'm going to give Jimmy $5. He asked me for $5. I'm going to give him $5. But I know in return that somebody else is going to give me $5 for the $5 I just gave Jimmy. Then you didn't do it out of your heart. You didn't do it out of the pureness of who you are. You didn't do it for the will of God. You did it because you know you are going to get a reward. That is the same thing as saying, I am saved and I'm going to heaven. How can you proclaim where you are going when you are not even sure how God has judged you yet? You have not met the end of your life. You have not stand before God in judgment before you even begin to react to my statement. I want you to sit down and think about it for a second. Think about it for a second. It's like showing up to a job interview with no skills and telling them that you are a master of all trades. You have no skills. And for those who have already gone through so much trials and tribulations, I want you to know something. I want you to know something very, very important. Sometimes we go through trials and tribulations so that we may be able to teach others not to go down the path that we have gone down. Sometimes it takes a man who has already hit rock bottom and climbed all the way back up to the top, claiming that he has found the answer. For people to realize that it is possible to fall and stand again. That is the power of God. That is the power of heaven. For if we sit back and wait for God to show up and do battle for us, then we will be the ones on the sideline and not chosen to go to heaven. Because we have not done no work. We have not accomplished anything but playing around. People like to say, I live for the moment. But a moment is a very powerful thing. A lot can happen in a moment. A lot can change. All it takes is one little thing to change the course of somebody else's life. One wrong decision to end a life. One wrong decision to destroy a life. But we must not focus on that. We must focus on spiritual defense. We must focus on the fact that we are here to do a job for God, not for ourselves. It is not about getting rich. It is not about having the clothes and the shoes and the cars and the houses. It is not about all those things, because all those things can be destroyed. They do not have a lifetime guarantee on them. The objects are not immortal. Even your house, if I take a match to your house, it's going to burn down. Trust me, I've seen it. So as you begin to sit and ponder whether my message is a message that you want to hear, whether what I'm speaking is the truth or not, I want you to know that I've been studying for years. I've been studying theology for as long as I can remember. I was an abused child. I went through so much pain and turmoil. I wanted to take my life, but God wouldn't let me go. He wouldn't let me die. So many attempts, he wouldn't let me die. I had to come to the conclusion that God is all powerful. That no matter how much we try to go down a path that we are not destined to go down, God will send people your way to turn you around. God will send people your way to stop you in mid-step and tell you that you belong to something greater. Tell you that you belong higher than where you stand now. He'll tell you, go ahead and climb the mountaintop like Moses did. Come speak to me. Come to me in your dreams. Come to me in reality. Come to me when you're awake. Come to me when you're daydreaming. Come to me. Even if you're angry with me, come to me. Even if you may not have gotten what you wanted yet, come to me. God is a powerful God. He is a powerful Father. He loves us with all his heart. And the only thing he asks us to do is to love him back with all our heart, with all our soul. Passion and desire is a strong thing, but it is only worth something when you use it to change, when you use it to inspire, when you use it to unveil the mystery of what lies behind the veil. Jesus said, I came to tear the temple open so that man can be reunited with God. He also said, I did not come here to bring peace, but I came with a sword. I came to sow discord between a mother and a daughter, between a father and son, between a brother and a sister. Because we're all not playing on the same team. We're all not destined to go in the same direction. Some of us are a little stubborn. Some of us serve a different master. Some of us are juggling, trying to serve two masters at the same time, and wonder why so much drama, so much pain, and so much anguish is in our lives. You can only serve one master. You can only do what is in your realm to do. You can only play your position. You can only use your skill set. So today I tell you, now is the time for us to take up our swords of truth and begin to go out into the community, go out into the street, and speak and speak and speak and speak and speak and speak until we can't speak anymore. It is time for us to tell the younger generation it's time to get in line. We have somewhere to go. We're not just walking around aimlessly. We're not just here to breathe in the air and enjoy ourselves. We're not on vacation yet. We're not in the presence of God yet. It's not time to give up yet. We still have more to do. We still have places to be on time. This message is a message of hope, a message of peace, but it's also a message to those who are listening and saying right now that it is impossible to change the direction and the course of the world. And I say to you, not everybody needs to change course, but only those who have been chosen by God should change course. Only those who can hear the voice of God tell them, now is the time to wake up, should wake up. For in 2 Thessalonians it says that the Antichrist will arrive, but before he arrives, his power is already here, waiting on him. There is a mass delusion going on. There are people living in a world that does not exist. Hitting up the club, so busy into movies and TV and radio. And I like to break it down to my students this way. How much time do you give God if you work an 8-hour job? Get 8 hours of sleep, that's 16 hours gone already. You go to the club, you watch TV, you go to the movies, you spend time with your family, you spend time with your friends. But how much time do you give to God besides when you need something? Besides when you feel like praying? We must be obedient to God. We must stand up for ourselves. We must stand up for those who cannot stand up. We must speak, even if it costs us our lives. In Revelation it says there will be martyrs who will give their testimony and die for the power and the will of God. Because they will not defame God by denying God. They will stand firm and say that God has sent them with this message. A message of hope, a message of peace, and a warning to the enemy. Do not encroach upon the valley of God. Do not encroach upon the valley of the fatherless and the motherless. Do not encroach upon the land of holy ground. For you, the enemy, has no power, has no authority over man or holy ground, over the will of God. There is no greater power than God. He is the first, the last, the Alpha, the Omega, the beginning and the end. He is the bread. He is the water. He is the wine. He is every single thing that we see in our presence. It was an old saying once the old people used to say that you could walk up to a tree and pray and God will hear you. Because that tree was made from the power of God. You can speak to the grass and the wind and God will hear you because those are elements of God. It is now time for us to return and be the sons of God. To be the daughters of God. Yes, we are the sons of man and daughters of man, but we are too the same with God. For he has created in us a spirit of fire that engulfs everything that we touch and every person that we touch. And if we believe, we can turn back the tide. We can change the future. What I am saying now is that we have to begin to start the process. We have been mourning and laying in lament for a while. Now it's time to remove the shroud. Now it's time to open up the graves and allow the ancestors to come back into our lives, come back into our spirit and say, we have already tried that. We have already done that. Maybe it's time for you to try this. Maybe it's time for you to do something radical, something different, something bold. This is that day. That day you have to realize what the purpose of your life has been. The reason why you are here. The reason why I'm speaking to you. The reason why I'm preaching these messages. They're all for you. For you to realize who God is. So that you can begin serving God. So that you can begin helping me turn this tide, turning this ship around. I cannot do it alone. I ask so many people to be with me. Let's do this.